What is up, guys? Today we are bringing you an Exosister deck profile. Let's get straight into it. Before we get started, as always, I do have a giveaway. It will be this Axe of Despair Lost Art. To enter the giveaway, all you have to do is like, comment, and be a subscriber. The comment challenge will be hidden somewhere in this video, so if you watch the video, just do the comment challenge and you'll be entered into the giveaway. But enough about this, let's talk about Exosisters. Exosisters is an extremely fun deck that actually isn't in a bad place in the meta right now. It's like a meme Exosister. It's like, oh, you could go to, if you're facing these decks, you could go to locals and bring Exosister and still win. Yeah, well, okay, but there was just a 555 player regional where Exosister got second, and it is a deck that makes you kind of have to think about everything you're doing, especially if you're doing anything involving the graveyard. And on top of that, they run things like Goes and Match and D-Shifter without being affected by them at all. In this current format, things like D-Shifter can absolutely win, along with Goes and Match, of course. And if you're facing a deck game one and you know that D-Shifter, like if you're facing Floowandereeze, they run D-Shifter, so that just gives you an opportunity to take 3 cards out of your main deck and put in 3 side cards. So let's talk about what Exosister does have. If you have a pretty healthy staple binder, there's absolutely no reason that you should not build this deck, because not counting the staples, the core is absolutely dirt cheap. And then you just borrow your staples from another deck or something like that, and you can play this against whoever, whenever, and it's another full deck that you have complete. The downside is if you don't have a pretty healthy staple binder, just the non-engine cards alone is over $200. And both those prices you just saw, both those cards are optimized for verified sellers only. And as far as staples go, the most obscure staple, quote unquote, that you're going to have is like Goes and Match, for example. It hasn't been printed in a long time, and they are kind of hard to come by. And then things like, I don't know, Gaga Cowboy, like your classic, literally classic, rank 4 Ixie monsters, Evil Storm, Excision Knight, things like that. But as I said, if you already have those staples, or at least most of them, this deck is going to be dirt cheap for you to build. But if you like a nice control deck that is kind of super oppressive, or can be super oppressive, then I think Exosister is a great pick for you. What else does it have? Let's see. It has space to take out all of these cards that are non-necessities for the side deck. It runs an insane amount of consistency cards that will help you get your combos off the way you want. The price of the core, did I mention that? It has oppressive cards that just absolutely make it almost impossible for a lot of decks to play. And as I said a second ago, if you don't need any of these cards, side them out. There are so many cards you can take out of this deck and still have the core of the deck and the cards that are 100% necessary for it to continue playing and just be good. But enough about that, let's get into the deck profile. And I'm going to do this one a little bit weird. I'm going to do it in a section where it's like, these are the Exosister monsters and cards that you need for the deck to run properly. And these are your game 1 cards, or possibly game 2 or 3 if they work against your opponent's deck. But let's just get started. First of all, we have 3 Exosister Martha. Exosister Martha is extremely good, and she's kind of the reason why the deck works at all. And she's a little sneaky as well, because you activate her in hand, and they're like, what does she do? It's like, okay, well, I'm going to special her, and then special another Exosister monster for my deck. If you word it like that, they're going to be like, okay, Ash. But if they don't piece together that you're specialing from deck as well, even if they have an Ash in hand, she specials from the deck on resolutions. They're like, okay, cool, let's resolve the chain. Now we're going to special Martha, grab our deck to special Ellis, which is usually the target. And they're like, wait, hold up, let me Ash. It's like, well, it's too late. Like, we're resolving now. Like, the opportunity to Ash is when she's activated in the first place. She can be a little sneaky like that. But it's 2 bodies on board, and they're both a special summon, so you still have your normal summon left after using her. After Martha, we do run 3 Ellis. Ellis is important because she's listed on Martha, and Martha isn't listed on anyone, which I'll explain here in a minute. It has to do with Exosister packs. But the other reason why we run 3 of her is because if we've used Martha's effect already this turn and we still have a pact or something, say we start with both, or we start with one and then Prosperity into the other. Ellis also has an effect where if you control an Exosister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So once again, it's another free body on board without normal summoning. And one more thing I should mention before we get too far into the deck profile is the way Exosisters work is whenever your opponent moves a card out of either graveyard, let's say they Bestial you or Reborn a monster or anything like that, your non-Ixie Exosister monsters on your opponent's turn can Ixie summon using just themselves as material. And then the Ixie monsters gain an effect only for the turn that they're Ixie summoned. And the reason why I say that now is because I did forget something about Martha. Martha's the only one where your opponent doesn't have to do it. It can be you. You can move a card out of your opponent's graveyard using like Mikolas or something, and then activate Martha's effect and Ixie summon. Up next, we do have 2 Exo Sister Stella. For a long time, I was running 1 Stella, 1 Sophia, but I wanted another Exo Sister name on board, and so what Stella does is, let's say we've gone through and done like all our stuff with the previous 2 cards. Now it's time to normal summon. When Stella's on board, you can activate her effect and special summon another Exo Sister from your hand. So you take your normal and then you get another special on top of all this stuff that you're doing. And if you haven't thought about it yet, this deck does lose to Nib. Then her other effect is if you control Exo Sister Ellis, you will gain 800 life points. And then the basic Exo Sister thing, which is if your opponent moves a card out of either graveyard, you can special summon from your extra deck 1 Exo Sister Ixie monster using this face-up card you control as material. It is counted as an Ixie summon, and then it is a hard once per turn. That's kind of the Exo Sister thing that they do. But once again, going down the chain, Stella is listed on Ellis. And then we have the only outlier, which is 1 Sophia. Sophia is basically just draw a card. If you control another Exo Sister monster, which could be a normal monster or an Ixie monster, you can just draw a card. And then if you control Irene, you gain 800 life points. 800 is a common theme. The traps cost 800 to activate. A few of the Exo Sister cards make you gain 800, but for this card it's completely irrelevant because we do not run Irene. She just helps us +1 in our hand. And then of course, same as all the other Exo Sisters, if your opponent, except Martha, if your opponent moves a card out of either graveyard, you get a free Ixie summon on their turn. And then that Ixie monster will gain an effect. Up next, Absolute Necessities, is 3 Aritamas. I would love to run Fenrir in this deck, but Exo Sister Martha locks you into Exo Sisters only, and it's similar to Lava Golem. Like if you use Lava Golem, it doesn't matter if you normal summon before or after, neither one is allowed. You cannot normal summon the turn you activate Lava Golem at all, period. And if you have, you can no longer activate Lava Golem. Exo Sister Martha is the same way, except it locks you into just special summoning, and they have to be Exo Sister monsters. That's where the spirit monsters come in. They are insane. Aritama, you normal summon him, and as a matter of fact, they can't be special summoned anyway. You normal summon Aritama, you search Sakitama, and then you activate Sakitama's effect, and what his effect says is you activate this card, reveal it, then you target 1 spirit monster in your hand, target himself, and normal summon it. It's an additional normal summon, and the reason why I run 2 of him and 3 of Aritama is because if you start with Aritama, it's full combo. Just that 1 card is full combo. That being said, if you get ashed, you're kind of just screwed. And in this case, you did use up your normal summon. So I guess you kind of have to hope for, I don't know, maybe you have a Martha as well, or you have a Prosperity or something like that. Now let's move to the non-necessity monsters. This deck can run 3 D-Shifter, which absolutely destroys so many decks. Up next is the classic 3 Ash, and then 2 Nibs. That is it for the monsters, but I'm going to leave them up so you guys can kind of see this is what's required, this is what I can side out. But on to the spells. The only Exo Sister spell we play is, of course, the 3 Exo Sister packs. This card is just insane, and it is a 1-card starter. And the fact that it's a quick play spell actually comes up more than you would think. Because if you start with 1 and then you Prosperity into like a bunch of stuff you don't need, but there is another pack, you can grab that, set it, special summon an Exo Sister monster during your opponent's draw phase, and then if they do anything with either graveyard, you get a free Ixie monster out of it, and if you choose like Miklas, for example, that also turns into a free banish. But what it actually does is you pay 800 life points and you add an Exo Sister card from your deck to your hand. So it's an Omni search for Exo Sister cards. But if you added a monster, you can special summon it if the Exo Sister listed on that monster is in the graveyard. Packs is the reason why it's important that like Martha lists Ellis and Ellis lists Stella. So a lot of times what you're going to do is you're going to Martha, get Ellis out in play, and then use those 2 to make an Ixie monster, and then you want to detach the Ellis. That way if you activate packs and search another Martha, instead of just adding it to hand, which you can do, but it also frees you up to special summon her instead. And since she's the one where you can move a card out of either graveyard and still get that Ixie summon, it's really important to have her on field alone, especially for the FTK. And I'm going to show you the going first combo as well as the going second FTK combo, but definitely 100% 3 packs. I mean, Exo Sister Armament is a really good card, and I've thought about testing it out, but I'd rather have more utility, so I just haven't. And then in the maybe column, it's not absolutely necessity, but I'll put it like somewhere in the middle, is 3 Prosperities. If you ask any Exo Sister player, it is 100% a necessity. The reason why I'm putting it like right here in the middle is because I want to encourage you to build the deck and play with it, and if this is keeping you from doing that, then seriously, like, do not worry about it. You could run like Extravagance or just more Exo Sister names. Granted, Extravagance would probably absolutely destroy you if you're playing competitively, but I do want to encourage you to build the deck because it's a lot of fun. After the regional yesterday, after it was done and I was just like sitting down, relaxing, the first thing I said is, I want to play Exo Sister. Not competitively, just because I was in the mindset of dueling and I wanted to duel, and Exo Sister is just extremely fun. But that is it for these spells. I am going to move these now because we do have a pretty heavy trap lineup, and it is a 40 card deck. So let's start off with the necessities / engine cards. We play 2 Returnia. It is a free banish, and then if you get one of your non-Ixie monster Exo Sister cards off and Ixie summon on your opponent's turn and then activate this card, you can actually banish 2 cards, or you can Ixie summon using monsters you control. So let's say you can't get to Magnifica, you end on 1 level 4, and I don't know, any Exo Sister monster. Your opponent moves a card out of grave, you use your non-Ixie Exo Sister monster to Ixie summon based on their effect. Let's say you go into Mikolas or something, you banish a card from your opponent's field or graveyard, activate Returnia, banish another one, and now you can use those 2 to go into Magnifica on your opponent's turn. Or you can use its secondary effect, second secondary effect, and banish a 3rd card. It's just absolutely an insane amount of disruption. The way it reads is, if all monsters you control are Exo Sister monsters, with a minimum of 1, of course, pay 100 life points and then target 1 card your opponent controls or in their graveyard, banish it, and then you can apply one of the following effects. Immediately after this effect resolves, Ixie summon 1 Exo Sister Ixie monster using monsters you control. So that would be your main deck Exo Sister monster right here. If your opponent didn't move anything out of grave, if they did, then you already have an Ixie monster there, and then you can go into Magnifica. And the second option you have is if you Ixie summoned this turn, banish 1 card your opponent controls. So you could calculate it to where you get 2 banishes from that, and then if you special summon Mikolas, you get a 3rd banish. Or you can get a free Magnifica, which, guess what, also banishes, but Magnifica is a non-targeting banish. It's just an insane card altogether. And then we play 1 Vadis. I don't really like this card. It's only been extremely helpful 1 time, but it is a trap card, and what it does is you pay 100 life points, you choose 1 Exo Sister monster from your deck, then you take another Exo Sister monster that's mentioned on that one, so like how one mentions the other and so on and so forth. You special summon them both, but you shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. And then, of course, it does lock you into Exo Sisters from that point on. It could be extremely helpful if you're facing a deck that touches the graveyard a lot, because that is 2 separate Exo Sister monsters that you just got to special summon. And if they touch the graveyard, both of those guys are going to go off, and you're going to have 2 Ixie monsters on board at that point. And it is a control deck, so that is one way to kind of control what your opponent does. I've used it, but I will say I've never searched it, and I've never chosen it from Prosperity. And that's all the needs. Now we get down to stuff that you can side out if you don't need it. We run 3 Evenlies, 3 Impermanents, and this could be a necessity that you don't want to take out, but I'm going to put it over here because Gozen doesn't hurt every single deck. It just hurts a really large portion of them. 3 Gozen match. And that is it for the traps. I guess that's not an extensive trap lineup, but it is quite a few compared to spells. We only play 6 spells. Now for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 Magnificas. This card was 80 cents. And after that guy, I feel really bad for not remembering his name, but after he got second place, I'm pretty sure it was the Philadelphia regional, but after he got second place in whatever regional it was, this card is now $15. And when buying the core of this deck, it comes down to how much is these 2, and the rest is like $10 total. But regardless, Magnifica is the boss monster and a lot of times the win condition. So first of all, she can make 2 attacks, and she has 2,800 attack, so that's pretty good. And then she has 2 separate quick effects. The first quick effect is she detaches to non-targeting banish a card on your opponent's side of the field. And then her second effect that makes her so good is she can dodge anything that targets her to like blow up or negate or anything. She can dodge all of that stuff because she tags out with the 2 Ixie monsters that she used for her summon. By the way, side note, if you didn't read it, that's how you get her out. You have to use 2 rank 4 Ixie monsters onto her. The downside to that is you're like, oh man, that's like Zeus Central. The materials of those cards don't actually go to her. The materials of the 2 monsters you choose to create Magnifica with actually go to the graveyard. So she ends up as just a 2 material Magnifica, but you detach one to non-targeting banish a card. And then her other quick effect is she will swap with one of the other ones underneath her. So pretend this is like any other Ixie monster and this is Mikolas, for example. She gets targeted to get negated or destroyed or whatever. The way it's worded, what you have to do is you can return 1 Exo Sister monster you own that's attached to this card, return it to the extra deck, then take that same card and Ixie summon using her and her materials like that. So I suppose if you're in like competitive play and you have like a judge breathing down your neck, you actually got to put this back in the extra deck and like, okay, it has to be the same one, and then bring it back, and now you tag out for Mikolas. But In like local play or whatever, basically, it's just that. So now Magnifica is no longer on the field, so the targeting of her is just completely gone. Now you have Mikolas, which opens you up to a few things. Now Mikolas has been Ixie summoned this turn, so you can use her effect to banish a card, or if you chose a different one, you can use their effect. And also, since you have Ixie summoned this turn through Magnifica's effect, Exosister Returnia is live, you can activate that and banish 2 cards if you want, or you can Ixie summon with other stuff as well. Magnifica is a crazy card, and it's just weird that she was printed like that. She's extremely unique, and she makes the deck really fun. Up next, we have 3 Mikolas. Mikolas has an on-turn of summon effect, which is to banish 1 card your opponent controls. This one does target, and then of course she does have a detach effect. She detaches to search an Exosister spell or trap, which most of the time is going to be Returnia unless you need like packs or something. But she's the one I like to pair with Magnifica a lot, because Magnifica will detach, not her, but the other one, to banish a card. And then you can tag her out for Mikolas from underneath, just like swap them over. And now Mikolas can banish a card. And then you activate Returnia, and since you have Ixie summoned on this turn, you banish 2 more cards. So she's just absolutely insane, and that's the reason why she is a 3 of. Up next, we have 2 Caspatel. Caspatel's first effect, if she was Ixie summoned using an Exosister monster, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of the turn, which is really good against some decks, but that's the theme. Like, anti-graveyard is kind of what Exosister is all about. And then her detach effect is to search an Exosister monster. So for the combo I'm going to show you, the 1-card combo and then the going second OTK combo, Caspatel searches a monster, Mikolas searches a spell or trap. You usually want to use both of those effects. And then up next we have 1 Asafeel. She's kind of on an as-needed basis. She's not part of any combo or anything, but her first effect is if she was Ixie summoned using an Exosister monster, neither player can activate card effects in their graveyard this turn. So that could be like a really good effect against a lot of decks. And then you can detach 1 material from this card, target 1 monster your opponent controls, return it to hand. So it's a non-destruction removal. So if they have something like Ice Jade Aggregate on field and they already activated its effect, none of their monsters can be destroyed or banished. So that creates a huge issue. That's where Asafeel comes in and will just return 1 to hand, or just the Aggregate, or like a Baron or Chaos Angel or something like that, that is under some sort of protection, as long as it can be targeted. Up next, we have the OTK Facilitator, Gibrine. Gibrine will boost everybody's attack by 800, and then Magnifica can attack twice. So she's in here for the OTK if it comes down to it. Her on-turn summon effect is if you control this card that was Ixie summoned this turn by using an Exosister monster's material, quick effect, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effect until the end of this turn. And then its detach is, of course, you can detach 1 material from this card. For the rest of the turn, all Ixie monsters you control gain 800 attack. So she facilitates the OTK, that's why she's in there. Now time for non-Exosister extra deck monsters. We have a Zeus, of course. If we're playing an Ixie deck, we have Zeus. And we are playing a level 4 Ixie deck at that. So we have Baby Zeus, we have Evil Swarm, Exiciate Knight. We have Bagooska. This deck runs out of gas very easily. And believe it or not, it can get a little bricky, and Bagooska will definitely buy you some time. And then this is more of a competitive play card. If like you're in game 3 and like you have 5 minutes left on the clock, Cowboy's in here so you can pull off the W and you don't end up drawing or whatever. His defense effect burns the opponent. So if you're both at 8,000, obviously you would take the win on that. But that's not the only reason he's in here. Without Gibrine on field, let's say you've used all your banishes. Magnifica is the highest attack monster we have, except for Zeus, of course. And she's only at 28. Gaga Cowboy can take out anything with 3,000 or less. He is at 1,500 attack, but if you summon him in attack position, you can detach a material, and he will gain 1,000, and whatever he attacks will lose 500. So he could be removal of a monster with 3,000 attack, or in defense, he can burn your opponent, and you can catch the W in game 3 if you're going to time. And then we have 2 basic link monsters. We do spam the field a lot, so we do have Underworld Goddess. Excellent removal of just an insane card that you literally can't do anything to. If you have a massive Noir on field, for example, and they don't activate it, they want to keep it at 5 materials. Or let's say they're waiting for you to Ixie summon, so they're just letting you get 4 Exosisters on field. You just link that and your 4 Exosister monsters away. And you did -4 off that, but now their boss monster and win condition is gone. And then of course we have 1 Sky Striker Ace Azalea. These bottom 6 are considered staples. They're not part of the Exosister core, but I would say that Gaga Cowboy and Exiciate Knight, these 2 are kind of like, maybe you have them because you played in like 2015, 2014, 2016, around that time when they were being played a lot, or you played another rank 4 Ixie deck. I don't know. So these guys are kind of obscure, but most people that have a healthy amount of staples are going to have Baguska, Zeus, Underworld Goddess, and Azalea. But that wraps it up for the main deck. Let's go into the side deck. First up for the side deck, we do play 3 cross out. As I mentioned earlier in the video, Sakitama is a 1 card full combo, but if they Ash it, you're absolutely screwed. Also, if they call D-Barrier on you and you're going second, you are absolutely unbelievably screwed. I mean, kinda, not really, if they're playing a deck that messes with their graveyard, but if they're not, then you've just lost the game. So that being said, up next is 2 D-Barriers. It is mostly a cross out target, but it absolutely decimates Chimera. After that, we have 2 Book of Moon. Book of Mooning can get rid of annoying cards. Usually it was like a Rise Heart, for example, but if you're facing Pearly or something like that and they don't go the Noir route, they go like a 8 material Zeus route and they want to Zeus you to death, just Book of Moon it. Speaking of annoying monsters to deal with, we do run 3 Gamma Seals. And the beautiful part, I think the part I love most about Exo Sister, is we can put all these cards in. It's not going to mess us up at all. There's so many cards you can take out. This deck is 100% just utility. That's it. And then if they have floodgates you don't like, we have a floodgate they hopefully don't like, but if they have one you don't like, Cosmic Cyclone will get rid of that. And since we are running 3 Prosperities, we can kind of dig for what hand traps or what staple cards we need. That being said, I'm running 2 Raigekis, 1 Feather Duster, and then 1 Change of Heart. If you're thinking right now, man, I bet this dude wishes he had Thrust, you would be absolutely correct. But who can afford all that? We're going to do it the old-fashioned way, and we're going to use Prosperity to dig for our staples. / interruptions, I should say. Alright, now let's get down into a 1-card combo. Hello from the future. The comment challenge is going to be, what's your favorite art out of the big 5 Exo Sister Ixie monsters? We got Magnifica, Mikolas, Caspatel, Asaphil, and Gibrine. So this is going to be our starting hand. It's going to be an Aritama. What we're going to do with him is we're going to normal summon Aritama, activate his effect, which will allow us to add 1 spirit monster from our deck to our hand. So we're going to go through and we're going to search his other little spirit buddy, Sakitama. We're going to activate Sakitama. What that's going to let us do is reveal him and then target 1 spirit monster in our hand and normal summon it. We're going to target him and normal summon him as well. We are going to overlay into Caspatel. Since we did not use an Exo Sister monster, we can't activate the effect where neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of the turn, but it does not matter because what we were going to do is detach 1 to search an Exo Sister monster. The monster will always and forever be, according to people that face Exo Sister, they're like, oh, search the Martha, search the Martha. And most of the time they're right. We're going to search the Martha. Activate Martha's effect. Let's say our wall of an opponent lets that go through. We're going to special summon Martha and then go into the deck to grab ourselves an Ellis. Now we are going to overlay these 2 into Mikolas. If necessary, we can banish a card that they control or in their graveyard, so that is an option, but what we're going to do now is detach 1. We will choose Ellis to detach in case we get a Pax or have a Pax. We're going to use that to search Martha. Since Ellis is in the grave, we can special summon it instead. So we want an Ellis in grave. So now Ellis is in grave, and Mikolas' detach effect to search a spell or trap has been activated. So let's search our Exo Sister Returnia. Returnia is in hand, and now we will overlay these 2 for Magnifica. Set our Returnia and pass. Now on their turn, if they're playing a normal summon deck, like Pearly for example, or Vanadium, even like Trap Trick, stuff like that, where they need their normal summon, as soon as they normal summon, banish it, let them continue to cook for a little bit. When it's necessary, let's detach to banish. We're going to detach Caspatel because we want Mikolas to be underneath. When we feel the time is right, we're going to activate her second effect and tag out, hopefully dodging like pretty much anything that targets, I should say, for Mikolas. Now we get another banish and we have Ixie summoned this turn. So we're going to activate Mikolas, banish again. Now we're going to activate Returnia. We're going to banish on activation, and since we Ixie summoned this turn, we're going to banish again. So 4 banishes, insane disruption, and that was just off 1 card. So imagine what back row we would have and what hand traps and so on and so forth. But that is the 1-card combo from Aritama. Now let me show you the OTK combo. So the OTK combo is actually extremely similar. The only difference is obviously you're going second. We're going to be starting with Aritama once again. And you could get to the same place with like Martha and Pax, and then like 1 other Exo Sister monster or something like that. Like you can Prosperity into, whatever you need to do it. But for the sake of showing you what to do, we're going second. So obviously the opponent, hopefully if they played the game at all, has a card in graveyard. So we're going to normal summon Aritama's effect to grab his little buddy, the other spirit in here somewhere. To grab Sakitama, we're going to activate Sakitama's effect, target himself to normal summon again, and then, as usual, you could have seen this coming, we're going to go into Caspitel. We're going to detach either one, it doesn't matter what we detach from Caspitel, to add ourselves a Martha from deck to hand. Activate Martha's effect, special Martha, and special ourselves in Ellis as well. We are going to go into Mikolas, and it might be tempting to banish something here, but do not, because Magnifica has to banish a card your opponent controls. Mikolas can banish out of the graveyard as well, which is very important. So we're going to activate Mikolas, and this is where it gets a little bit different. We're going to detach Ellis and search. But what we're going to search is, instead of Returnia, which is our going first card, we're going to search Exosister Pax, which will be our going second card. Now that this is in hand, we're going to activate Exosister Pax and search ourselves another Martha. Get rid of the Pax, it has been used, normal summon Martha. Now we're going to use Mikolas' effect to banish a card from the opponent's graveyard specifically. That way Martha's effect can go off and we can Ixie summon using her. That's where we will go into Gibrine, and then use these two guys to overlay into the girl herself, Magnifica. Activate Gibrine's effect. We're going to detach one. All Exosister monsters we control, or I'm sorry, all Ixie monsters we control are now up 800, and Magnifica can attack twice. That right there is 24, and then 36 times 2. If necessary, Magnifica can detach to banish one monster non-targeting, well, card. It could be in a card your opponent controls non-targeting. But also, as you can see, this is where cards like Change of Heart and side deck really help out. Raigekis really help out, Kaijus really help out, Book of Moons really help out, and so on and so forth. But that is the way to get to 8,000 life points in one turn. But regardless, that is Exosister in a nutshell. To enter the giveaway, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.